Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Tech Chats. I am joined by Uri Blackman, CEO and co-founder of GIDEON Informatics. GIDEON is a global infectious disease database. Uri, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So let's jump right in. Maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about GIDEON and how it can be useful for healthcare providers and educators.
Well, GIDEON is a unique database in that it incorporates information about infectious diseases that keeps changing all the time. And we are the leading database in that kind, and we serve three main domains. We have a decision support tool that helps point-of-care physicians or health professionals diagnose an individual patient. So they can put in like signs, symptoms, and get a differential diagnosis and then dig down further about the disease. We have an educational component that allows you to teach microbiology and infectious diseases at a medical school or an undergrad institution teaching biology. And then we're also used by public health when they're looking at like case clusters of diseases, and they're looking at trends, like when you see big outbreaks of like Zika or similar diseases that pertains to public health. So those are three main kind of demographics, all serviced by one database.
Now, you founded the company while you were in undergrad, so that's unusual. What drove you to create an online medical publishing company at that state?
It's funny, I wouldn't have thought of it as an online medical publishing database at that point because it was pre-internet. We started off, it was almost like an experiment, a hobby. I was working at computerizing a patient-based record system at a hospital in Tel Aviv, and I was introduced to my now partner, Steve Berger, who had this idea about diagnosing diseases by putting in symptoms using Bayesian formula. And I thought that was pretty cool. I had a CS background. He was the physician, and he came, and we experimented, and we saw that it actually worked. Once we put in some symptoms, it actually gave something that was interesting. And we were like, wow, that's pretty cool. What should we do? And so we initially targeted the product at physicians in the infectious disease space. And the first version of the product, this was in 1993, was a DOS-based product. And we launched at a conference, and we sold like 25 subscriptions right there and then, and we weren't sure, does that mean we should continue, or what does that mean? So that's how it started.
Wow. But now your product is deployed in hundreds of institutions in over 45 countries. What has surprised you most throughout this journey from the inception that you just talked about to your global success now?
Well, the first thing was that we kind of stumbled into this. Like I said, it was kind of like, I thought it was cool. It wasn't like we thought, oh, this is a problem and how are we going to solve it? It was more like we came up with a cool product and then we looked for the market. So I think it took time for us to iterate to find out who the actual customer is. And now, it's still that core, but it's expanded beyond, as I explained before. We found a number of customers. So that takes time, figuring out the right customer. And the other thing is that there's no such thing as an overnight success. You just got to build and build and build and build and build. And I think, it just takes time to get the word out and adapt to technologies as they change. As I said, we started off a long time ago in DOS, went to Windows, Internet, so it just keeps expanding.
So what advice could you give entrepreneurs today that are looking to start a subscription business?
Well, I think subscription is great. I mean, that's the model that basically kept us alive because we had the recurring revenue. If we would have just sold initially, we were thinking of just selling it as a box software. Oh, here you get it. But then we realized we have to keep it up to date because it's a database. So we had like a software mindset, and but now subscription is much more prevalent. You see, music is sold in subscription. Lots of everybody's much more used to buying stuff with subscription through Netflix and other mediums. So I think that that's a really good way to go. But obviously, you have to keep something that's new and fresh so that people will want to continue subscribing. So it has to be a product that can continually change. So, as with any product, you got to find the problem, the solution, and make sure that you find the right customer base, and you can market it for less than it costs you to than it costs than you get from the customer.
I think you've got that right. Uri, thank you so much for joining us today. For more information on GIDEON Informatics, please visit their websites and stay tuned for next week's Tech Chat.